Hey, RetconRaider here. Well, this is it. We've been talking about Pathfinder Kingmaker for 6 months now, but as of this week, it's finally out. That means it's time to officially move on from the beta and start over with the full campaign. Now, I was tempted to continue with our monster tactician, but let's be honest here. After using him to play through the beta 3 or 4 times, I'm really ready to try something new. Besides, they got rid of the Death Ponies, so it just wouldn't be the same. Anyway, we've got a lot of ground to cover, but before we get started, I'd like to say that today's video is dedicated to Sir Skelibate, one of my longest running patrons. Thanks for your continued support, Skelibate. I really appreciate it. And that said, let's get started. First things first, we have to select our difficulty. Now, back in the beta, we played on challenging mode, and things sometimes seemed a little too easy, but there were also notable difficulty spikes. With the release version, though, it really feels like the developers have tuned up the difficulty. In fact, they may have over-tuned it a little because I'm seeing a lot of complaints about it on the forums. I would like to show consistent progress in each new episode, so we'll play it safe. We'll still go with challenging mode, but we'll reduce the enemy stat adjustment from slightly tougher to normal. Basically, we're going for as even a playing field as possible. We can be critically hit, debuffs are semi-permanent, and our party members can actually die if they take too much damage. We don't want the enemies to be overpowered, but we also don't want them to have any special disadvantages. Oh, but one thing we will disable is party speed modifiers based on encumbrance. It might be more immersive, but let's be honest here, it's not really fun to play that way, and I can't imagine it's fun to watch. Besides, this won't completely disable encumbrance, it'll just help us move a little faster on the tactical maps. Now we have to make our actual character, and fortunately, I've already got a pretty good idea of what I'm going for. This shouldn't take too long. First up, we have to choose our character portrait. And honestly, this hasn't really changed much since the beta. They did add a couple of Kickstarter exclusive portraits, but otherwise, we're working with the same portraits that we had in the beta. They did implement a way to insert custom character portraits, but that gets into a legally gray area for YouTube videos, so we'll just go with a generic elven portrait for now. It's not entirely accurate to the character I have planned, but it should suit our purposes. That, of course, means we're going with an elven character. That gets us some minor skill bonuses, resistance or immunity to certain types of magic, and a handful of bonus proficiencies with various elven weaponry. More importantly, it also gives us a +2 bonus to dexterity and intelligence, which both just happen to be primary attributes for the class I have in mind. Speaking of which, we'll be going for the Alchemist class. Or, more specifically, the Grenadier archetype. These guys are very similar to the standard alchemist, but they give up some of their utility and flexibility in order to focus on their use of explosives. While the standard alchemist only has training in simple weapons, the Grenadier has training in martial weapons as well, which means we can use things like polearms and composite bows. They also get a +1 accuracy bonus with splash weapons, which of course brings us to their big class ability, the Alchemist's Bombs. These do start off relatively weak, inflicting a base 1d6 fire damage and a small burst radius, but they rapidly scale in power, not only gaining increased damage, but also inflicting powerful debuffs on enemies caught in the area of effect. As a dedicated explosives expert, the Grenadier also gains access to special abilities that further augment their bombs, starting notably with Precise Bombs at level 2, which completely removes the risk of friendly fire. Now we have to assign our ability points, and like I said earlier, an alchemist's primary attributes are dexterity and intelligence. We'll start with those. First, we have dexterity, which heavily influences our ranged accuracy. We'll set that at a respectable 16. Then we have intelligence, which not only modifies how many bombs we get each day, but also how much damage they'll inflict. That's obviously pretty important for a Grenadier, so we'll push that all the way up to 19. Now, that uses up the bulk of our ability points, but I would still like to shore up the rest of our stats. which means we'll have to use Charisma as our dump stat. I'll admit, that's not something I normally like to do, but in this case, we don't have Persuasion as a class skill anyway, and it turns out that you can actually have your party members do the talking for you. Since we're going to have both Valerie and Tristan in the party, we'll just let them handle the diplomacy for us. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's move on. Next we have skills, and this is fairly straightforward. We'll just go straight down the line and put a point into all of our class skills, with the exception of use magic devices. We'll primarily be using bombs and potions, so we won't really have room for wands and scrolls. That said, we will eventually put points into use magic devices, but not until we've raised our intelligence. In fact, we'll eventually have more skill points than we know what to do with. And that brings us to our character feat, which, again, is a fairly straightforward decision. They've already recommended the two most important feats for our character build, Ability Focus Bombs and Point Blank Shot. We'll be getting both of them eventually, but we'll start with Point Blank Shot. We can't really rely on our bombs till about level 3 anyway. Finally, that brings us to our starting spells, though technically these are actually potions that our Grenadier brews when he's resting. From a gameplay standpoint, these are functionally identical to normal arcane spells, with the notable exception that the alchemist can only use them on himself. We'll get rid of that restriction once we hit level 2. And that's it. We're pretty much done. We just have to set some of the basic details about our character. I imagine this guy is probably your stereotypical elf. Brilliant and physically superior, but also aloof and more than a little full of himself. As an alchemist, he's obsessed with the pursuit of arcane knowledge and ancient forgotten lore, which can cause him to make morally questionable decisions, but despite that, he's really a good guy at heart. He'll generally try to resolve conflicts as peacefully and efficiently as possible, but he might occasionally require moral guidance from his more conscientious companions. Let's check this voice set.
I didn't even break a sweat. We will be victorious. This will hurt. Calm down. Not dead yet.
Yeah, I think that'll work. Now we have to pick our alignment, and I think our best fit is neutral good. Not only does it work with our character concept, but it's also required for some of the story decisions I'd like to make later in the game. That just leaves our character's name. I'll admit, I'm tempted to just call this guy Retcon, but this is the full campaign, so we should probably go with something a little more setting appropriate. Now, I could spend all day trying to come up with the perfect character name, but we don't have that kind of time. We'll just go with Silverleaf instead. I know, it's a bit generic, but it's also a nod to classic D&D. And, as always, I'm a sucker for semi-obscure references to classic nerd culture. At any rate, that means we're officially done with character creation. All we have to do now is review our character sheet, and then we can finally get started. And here we have him, Silverleaf the Alchemist, ready to set off for the Stolen Lands, unearth ancient secrets, and claim his kingdom. Though, I did just realize I forgot to set the colors on his outfit. Let's pause real quick so I can take care of that, and then we'll get started. Okay, colors are set, so it begins.
Our story started at the mansion of an Aldori Swordlord. Drawn by the promise of a most dangerous task and a commensurately huge reward, heroes of all stripes gathered here.
Thank goodness for partial voice acting.
Where are they? This is taking forever! They didn't even say what this was for, just that the Aldori were looking for heroes. Who are the Aldori anyway? Rich folk?
If you can't be patient, no one's keeping you here. Just go back to your mountains or whatever hole you crawled out of. The Aldori Swordlords run the premier school for the dueling arts. They're also the richest and most influential group in this part of Brevoy. Take that tone with them, and they'll teach you some manners pretty quickly.
All right, you purple toad, just shut your trap. And if you can't, I'll help you.
Hush! Quiet! They're coming.
Greetings, everyone. I am Swordlord Lady Aldori, and this is Lord Mayor Yosef Selimius of Restov. Welcome to my mansion.
We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for responding to our call. You may be few, but that's unavoidable. We need only the best of the best for this task. And I see true heroes before me, strong and fearless, exactly what Restov needs.
The mayor, a middle-aged man with bushy sideburns and a monocle, wears a beaming smile.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Now, to the point. South of here, just beyond Brevoy's border, lies a region known as the Stolen Lands. This is disputed territory, and while it's long been claimed by nearby states, it's never been truly taken. I won't bore you with the legal technicalities. Suffice to say that anyone with enough courage and power to seize the Stolen Lands and name themselves Baron or Baroness, claiming dominion, well, none of the neighboring states would be able to challenge it. Of course, Restov would be first to recognize the legitimacy of this new state, as well as the noble title of its founder. Unfortunately, one serious obstacle stands between you and this title. A gang of bandits holds sway in the Stolen Lands. Their chief, who they call the Stag Lord, considers himself the rightful owner of these lands, and no one has yet been able to challenge his power. Bring me his head, and you'll be able to return to the Stolen Lands as their legal ruler. Any questions?
There's a whole team of us. Who exactly will receive the Baron's title?
I will, of course. I'm the leader of this team, after all. Don't worry, though. I'll make it worth your while to help me.
We haven't yet begun, and you already speak of divvying rewards. What makes you think we'll even succeed? There's little point arguing over who gains the title when we'll most likely lose our lives there.
If I may please answer the question.
She takes a long pause, waiting for the voices to die down as everyone directs their attention toward her.
We believe you're all equally deserving of a noble title. Over the course of your expedition, it will be up to you as a team to decide which of you is best suited to rule.
Why not just recognize this Stag Lord as Baron?
That's a good point. As I see it, this Stag Lord already holds power over the region with confidence. Many noble bloodlines were started by bandits who just got lucky, weren't they?
Perhaps because we do have standards to maintain. This room has seen many celebrations of adventurers, and even those who just got lucky. But giving a noble title to a bandit lord? That's one thing that's never happened here, and it won't while I still breathe.
The Swordlord's gaze is chilling as she responds. You're helping us found a barony. What do you gain from such generosity?
Don't ask stupid questions. Why should you even care? What they have to gain and why, that's for Lady Aldori and I to discuss. It's none of your concern. Your only concern is to swing your sword around, or whatever it is you do.
Of course, we stand to benefit from this enterprise. But if you're concerned that we intend to rule your country from afar, using you as a front, well, please know that these concerns are unfounded. Let's just say that we have a strong interest in the region's stability. We have need of a ruling power we can negotiate with, not bandit gangs and monster hordes.
What rewards can we expect, exactly?
And what reward would you seek beyond a noble title and your own lands?
The Lord Mayor's eyebrows rise so far he almost drops his monocle.
We'll absorb the costs of preparing and equipping your expeditions. Once you return victorious, Restov will also allocate you a significant sum to provide financial support for you to establish your country. Essentially, will help you build your capital. I hope such a reward is satisfactory.
Words, words, words. Significant, financial. I can't fill my belly with pretty words.
Of course. There will also be an official banquet held in your honor. All of Rostov's high society will gather to celebrate your feat.
Jamandi smiles.
Now you're talking.
It's clear as day.
Excellent. You venture forth tomorrow. For now, you can take some time to get to know one another better. Or you can head straight to your guest rooms to get some rest. You'll find we've already prepared supplies for you there. And thank you again for agreeing to take part in this expedition. I wish you luck.
Thank you again, with all my heart, for replying to this call. The flare in your eyes reveals your courage, the unshakable will that distinguishes true heroes. I look at you, O champions of Rostov, and doubt not for a second that you'll be victorious. So venture forth toward your feet. Go, and return in triumph.
Very inspiring.
Hi, my name's Linzi. I'm a bard, though this is my first real adventure. So, shall we go teach this stag lord a lesson?
What do you want from me?
Nothing weird, don't worry. I just wanted to ask you something. How do you feel about this Tartuccio fellow? I think he's pretty obnoxious personally. He appointed himself head of the team, and he's just after the Baron's crown, or whatever it is barons wear. Doesn't matter. I don't like him. I think you should be team leader. When I first saw you, I couldn't help but think, now here's a real hero. Someone who'll be praised in poems and songs. This is the person I'll write my book about.
I'm no hero, just a mercenary.
And what are you a mercenary for? Is it only riches? Or maybe you want glory, too? Don't you want your feats to be remembered and glorified for centuries? Just listen. You know what the trouble with most heroes' biographies is? They're always written years later, based on the tales of, best case, people who saw things from the outside. Worst case, someone heard about it from their brother, who heard it from their friend, who heard it from their cousin, and so on, adding a new batch of lies each time. Every time I read about a heroic journey, I think to myself, why didn't they just bring a bard with them to write it all down properly? And then I thought, I could be that bard. I just needed to find a suitable hero and volunteer to follow along on their glorious adventure. A great plan, huh? And here we are, with a heroic journey lying before us. Who's going to be the hero? Some dwarf who keeps muttering about how we'll all die? Or maybe that horrific scythe lady? Or, God's forbid, Tartuccio? No way.
What about that barbarian? She looks pretty heroic. I think her name is Amiri.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic. You can tell she could tear a bear's head off with her bare hands, but she kind of scares me just a little. But, I mean, her sword's twice as big as I am. She could cut me down without even noticing. Just think on it a bit, all right? I'm sure you'll agree. All right, I'm going to my room to write about tonight. See you in the morning.
The first step in the road to glory. Leave the hall. Oh, I love that. Okay, so we could spend some time getting to know our future companions, but we'll be spending plenty of time with them in the future, so let's just get to our room. Oh, you'll notice I left a tutorial enabled. I don't really plan on addressing it, but feel free to pause the screen if you'd like to get a better idea of how some of these systems work. I'll be trying to keep things moving, though.
Help! Help!
Linzi bursts into your room. She looks scared. Her face is smeared with soot, and she holds a weapon in her hands. Is this a joke?
No time for jokes. The mansion's under attack. Some villains broke in and started killing everyone. I barely made it. Hurry, we have to help the guards fight off the attackers, or we'll all be cut down one by one.
As if to lend credence to Linzi's words, a scream echoes down the hallway. And here comes the tutorial assassin. Poor guy. You're not going anywhere.
Enemy approaching.
Okay, let's take this guy out. But, first, let's rearrange our skill bar real quick. Looks like I forgot to set our starting spells, but that's fine. You can't really lose these first few fights anyway. Alright, let's do this.
This should do it.
Sorry, buddy. You started it. Though, we wouldn't have signed up for this job if we weren't willing to kill a few bandits. We don't have any frontliners to protect us yet, so let's go ahead and equip that chain shirt. It's a bit more cumbersome than our current armor, but it also provides better protection. The assassins are already here. Follow me, quickly. We'll be right there, Linzi. First, though, we really need to scrounge up some better gear. I would feel bad about robbing the dead, but let's be honest here. We need this stuff more than he does. Besides, that gets us our first bow. We'll eventually want to upgrade to a composite longbow, but this'll certainly do for now. Alright, I think we're set. Let's see what Linzi's up to. They got someone. We have to help. Look, they're running. Get them. And what shall we do with this one? We'll finish him later. He won't get away. Okay, we're up against 2 more tutorial assassins.
You're just in time. A bit longer and I'd have been... Whew, I don't even want to think about it. Can you imagine what a terrible loss this would have been? But it's all right now. I'm safe, sound, and unscathed, ready to lead you to victory. Lady Jamandi's holding the line in the banquet hall. You know, the one where she had us gathered before. We need to make our way to her. And along the way, we'll try to save some of these dummies who are supposed to accompany us to the stolen lands. Speaking of dummies, take this ring. Quiet now, so that little fool doesn't hear us. She might try to steal it herself. It's magical. It'll protect you. You'll need it while you work to defend me.
The gnome looks back at Linzi, whispering as he takes a ring off his finger, handing it to you. Well, that was certainly nice of Tartuccio. He sure seems like a generous and trustworthy fellow. Oh, and such a distinctive ring, too. I'm sure he has absolutely no ulterior motive for giving this to us. We'll use it for now, but we might conveniently lose it a little later. And, speaking of not letting things go to waste, let's have a look around.
All according to plan.
Again, I'd feel bad about taking this stuff, but Lady Jamandi did promise to outfit our expedition. We'll just consider this a down payment for services rendered.
In due time.
Now, those first few assassins were pretty easy, but you'll notice that they get slightly more dangerous as we move forward. The game is essentially easing us into things, giving us time to get used to the mechanics before they throw anything serious at us. Speaking of which, we've got 3 assassins this time, though they are clustered pretty closely together. This is an ideal opportunity to use our first bomb. Nice. Looks like that took out one of them. Let's just get this tutorial out of the way. Yeah, looks like we just have 2 bowmen left.
A calculated risk.
Okay, this is taking longer than I thought it would, so let's speed things up with another bomb. Oh, scratch that. No point in wasting a bomb on a single target.
This will hurt.
There's the tutorial for damage and healing, but I don't think we have any serious injuries yet. Yeah, we're fine. Let's grab our loot and keep moving. And there's our first batch of healing potions. That actually reminds me, let's rearrange our belt pouches real quick. We'll streamline Silverleaf's selection a little. And I don't really think Tartuccio needs all these healing potions. Someone as great as him, how could he ever possibly get injured? We'll also grab that scroll off Linzi and add it to our spellbook. We can't actually use that spell yet, but it'll be convenient once we hit level 4. Okay, moving on. I can't believe it! That could have been us! We'll grab that mace, but we'll leave the hide armor behind. Oh no! Is everyone dead? Pathetic. They couldn't even defend themselves, but they thought they could conquer the stolen lands. Ah, Tartuccio. Truly the pinnacle of empathy. Ah, there's some more food to outfit our expedition with. I'm sure Jamandi won't mind if we help ourselves. You know, she sure seems to keep a lot of valuables in random containers. We'll just keep this safe.
Blood for Gorum! It's the end for you rats!
They dare to attack me!
One damage critical hits, huh?
Let's try this way.
Leave this one to me.
Oh, it's you. Stay up from under my feet or I'll strike you down.
The barbarian's face is distorted with rage. She grinds her teeth and sweat drips from her forehead.
Blood for Gorum!
Swinging her bloody sword, she runs toward the sound of battle.
Barbarians.
I think that's exactly how heroes should be.
What, stupid, sweaty, and always looking for something to gobble up or lop the head off of? Calistria, save me from such heroes.
Okay, let's see here. The heavy grate is securely locked. Well, guess that means we're going the other way. There they are, the assassins. This is your last chance. Drop your weapons and we'll spare your lives. So generous. I'm afraid I can't offer you the same courtesy. What in hell's name is that? Oof. That might be a bit above our challenge rating. Well, let's clean up after them. We'll just grab everything for now. The passage is blocked. You can't make it through this way. That's just as well. We still have to collect the rest of our party. Alright, onward, my friends. And there's the tutorial skill challenge. Much like with the tutorial assassins, we literally can't fail here.
It is finished.
And we've got 2 more assassins to deal with. Let's use another one of our bombs.
I am prepared.
Actually, that might be a bit wasteful. We can probably take these guys down with some concentrated bow fire. Wow, unless we miss every shot. There's a hit.
This was not
Wow,
part of the
and
plan.
we took a hit back. Like I said, they're steadily increasing the strength of these assassins. Let's get Silverleaf back on his feet.
Yes.
Revenge. I'll admit, that fight was a little messier than I was expecting. Let's get some more potions slotted before we move on. An armory. I'm sure Jamandi wouldn't mind if we borrowed some weapons.
A trivial matter.
I know Tartuccio's setting us up, but it's actually a pretty good suggestion. Besides, Lady Jamandi did promise to outfit our expedition. Let's see what we've got. Ooh, there's our first composite bow. We'll definitely take that. Banded mail. We can't use it ourselves, but we will need it in the near future. Oh, and we'll definitely need that key.
What have we here? This chest is full of gold. I guess it's for the guards' salaries, all things considered. Well, those freeloaders don't seem to have been working too hard for it. Maybe we should pocket it instead.
Tartuccio looks at the chest on the table and rubs his hands together.
What? No, we're heroes, not thieves.
Who said we were stealing it? We'll just take the gold for safety so the assassins don't get it. And then we can heroically return it to Jamandi when this is all over.
No distractions. If you haven't forgotten, they're trying to kill us.
Finally, a voice of reason.
Do what you want. I don't care. It was just a suggestion. But there's a lot of money in that chest, and with all these bandits running around, it wouldn't be any better if they stole it.
Tartuccio shrugs with ostentatious nonchalance.
That is not far.
I can probably justify taking the armor and weapons, but the guard's payroll might be a bit too much. Oh, let's get that bow equipped. It's not much, but we'll do 1 extra point of damage. That'll get a little better once we get further into the game.
Oh, familiar faces. I hope you're not so frightened as to swing at every shadow. It's me, Jaethal. I don't recommend advancing down the hallway, assuming you value your life, of course. There were a few people with me, and you can see what happened to them.
The pale elf looks eerie in the semi-darkness, like a ghost given flesh.
And just how did they all end up dead while you don't seem to have a scratch?
Tartuccio eyes Jaethal suspiciously.
I'll answer but briefly and just once. Further scares and explanations will wait until we aren't being hunted by a group of assassins. Deal? All right. I'm undead. These traps are deadly to the living, but they're harmless to me.
What do you mean undead? Really? Like zombies or skeletons or...
As I said, further explanations will wait until later. All you need to know right now is that we're on the same side, and we have to fight off a small army of hired assassins. Let's get to it.
Jaethal looks at Linzi as though at an annoying fly. Okay, we've finally got our first frontliner. And we've also got some traps to deal with.
As it should be.
First, let's take care of our formation, and then we'll take care of the traps.
In due time.
Fortunately, because this is the prologue, these are just tutorial traps. They can still hurt us if we get careless, but they're also exceptionally easy to disarm.
How curious.
Applause, please.
What a surprise.
Anything else?
How curious.
Applause, please.
Alright, I think that's all of them. Let's check out those 2 rooms before we move on.
All according to plan. Follow my lead.
That polearm could actually be useful. Let's take a look at that real quick. Our encumbrance is getting pretty high. Nothing that hurts us right now, but we will need to keep it in mind once we finish the prologue. Ah, okay. I was hoping we could use this, but unfortunately it's an exotic weapon, so we don't have the proficiency. Oh, but what we can do is upgrade Jaethal's armor. This is why we grabbed that breastplate back in the armory. And moving on. There's a couple of scrolls. Nothing we need right now, but still nice to have. Hold on, looks like our formation got messed up. As much as I'd like to have Tartuccio take point, we should probably fix that. What are you dallying for? I'm telling you, Jamandi's cache has to be here somewhere. Well, hurry it up before... Stop! Someone's coming! 2 more assassins. We can probably assume these guys are tougher, but we've got Jamandi on our side now. Nice. What did they say about a cache? Curious. Alright, now we need to find that cache. You know, provisions, expedition. It's the go-to excuse. That means we need to solve this puzzle.
And Linzi was called forth.
No mistakes.
Now, this is a bit odd. There are other puzzles in the game, but they're usually handled with special narrative events or simple skill challenges. This is one of the rare cases where the player has to actually solve the puzzle themselves. Fortunately, I played through the beta so many times that I've already got this solution memorized.
Time's not waiting.
Oh, looks like they actually increased the amount of treasure in here. Very nice. There's our big prize, a potion of remove blindness. We'll definitely need that in the future. Now, we still need to get the other door open, so we just need to...
Focus on the goal.
You have my attention.
I know what to do.
There we go.
State your desire.
And that got us a Wand of Magic Missile. Not bad. Okay, let's move on. We're actually almost done with the prologue. More assassins. Alright, let's take him out. This is it. My time has come. Oh, Grotus, take my soul. We're suffering penalties for firing on the guy in melee. Let's focus fire on the archer instead. Very nice. Let's collect our loot, and then we can collect our dwarf.
Grotus, I can sense your silhouette hovering over me. It won't be much longer. Soon we shall meet, O Lord of Oblivion.
A dwarf is lying on the ground, staring into the dark sky. He doesn't seem to have any severe wounds, but his trembling whisper is weak, as though he were at death's door. What's wrong?
I'm dying. I knew this expedition was doomed. Oh, Grotus, my vision darkens.
Aren't you being a bit premature? Look at yourself. You barely got a scratch.
You're wrong. Who would know better than I the severity of my own wounds? I can feel the last drops of vital force leaving me.
Okay, Tartuccio. Quit the act. Stand and fight, or I'll really send you to your final rest.
I can't hear you. I'm being taken away into the darkness.
Up, you faker! Just look at him! Dying, he says. What a buffoon! Come on, get up now, or I'll tap dance on your corpse.
It seems I will live. I suppose I must postpone meeting my god, not for long, I'm sure. But while we remain in this transient world, Harrim is at your service.
The dwarf grunts as he regains his feet and warily looks down at his blood-stained armor. I've got to say, I wasn't actually expecting Tartuccio to resolve that for me. I was just trying to justify using the Intimidate option. Anyway, let's take a moment to get our skill bars in order, and then we'll move on.
Ask. Adventures call to them.
Oh, let's also upgrade Harrim's armor real quick. Normally, a cleric wouldn't actually be able to wear heavy armor, but in Harrim's case, he actually took the appropriate proficiency as his starting feat. It actually makes him a pretty good tank. Okay, just one more room to clear, and then we're finally moving into the home stretch. Nice. There's our hidden object tutorial. And that gets us a Masterwork longsword. Not bad. Silverleaf can actually equip that longsword if we want him to. I'm not actually planning to throw him into close combat, but it's always good to have a backup plan.
That is not far.
You, run and get an axe. You, bring more water. You, stay here and hold our defense. Those assassins are still around here somewhere.
The stout man's unshaven face is covered with scars. There's blood on his armor, but he doesn't even seem to notice his wounds as he confidently gives orders to the guards.
Aha! Some of our guests survived. Good. You need to get to the banquet hall and help Lady Jamandi.
Who are you?
Keston House Gares, a fighter in the service of Swordlord Jamandi Aldori. Right now, I'm in charge of the mansion guards. As you can see, there's a lot to do.
What's going on here?
Someone opened the gate, let in a group of assassins in the middle of the night. Now they've set the mansion on fire to cut off access to the hall. They don't want Lady Jamandi to get reinforcements. We cleared the passage so you can get through. Just try to avoid inhaling the smoke. We'll be right behind you. We just need to put out the fire first to save the mansion.
Do you need help putting out the fire?
No, we'll manage. I've got my best people here, those who still live. Your place is by Lady Aldori's side.
It doesn't seem right. What if some of the guards are wounded? We need to help them.
Where's the hall?
You'll have to run through the fire. We've almost put it out at the entrance, so your main concern should be to not inhale any smoke. Hold your breath and take the first right, then head straight down the hallway.
I'll go immediately.
May Abadar keep you safe.
Okay, time to walk through fire. And so our adventure started, earlier and much more tragic than we'd expected. The whole team who'd gathered in the hall yesterday had been reduced to but a handful of brave souls, led by Silverleaf, and not at all that scoundrel Tartuccio, no matter what he might have imagined of himself. Jamandi Aldori was waiting for us, but to get to her, we'd have to march through fire. Literally. As we approached the burning building, we drenched ourselves with buckets of water. Prudence is the key to victory. Before moving through the fire, we thoroughly wet our clothes and hair. After that, we covered our noses and mouths before we rushed inside. It was a good thing we hadn't wasted any time. After entering the building and taking just a few steps forward, the wall behind us slanted and crashed down with a terrible crackling sound, blocking the way back. While we may not have planned on going back, if we'd come in a little later, the flaming logs and red-hot bricks would have fallen right on our heads. Regardless, we were left with only one way to go. The hot air burned our lungs, and our eyes watered from the smoke, but Silverleaf led us stubbornly through the flames, while Tartuccio did nothing useful at all. We'd made it to the hallway leading to the banquet hall when we heard someone calling for us. It was Valerie, one of the guards I'd chatted with a bit in the banquet hall. Even then, in that calm setting, I'd been stunned by her beauty. But now, amid the smoke and flame, she looked like a celestial avenger, an armored deity, menacing but beautiful and merciful, descending from the higher spheres to help us poor mortals. She held a burned, barely living guard in her arms. "There are two more," she shouted as she passed by us. "They are wounded. Help me pull them out." Tartuccio grumbled something about how Jamandi was waiting for us. Meanwhile, Silverleaf rushed to save the guards from the fire. Saving the poor fellows was harder than it had seemed. We inhaled a lot of smoke and burned ourselves more than once before managing to pull them away from the fire. Only then did Valerie pause to catch her breath and wipe the sweat from her face. "Thank you, that was truly noble of you," she said. "And now, let us rush to Lady Aldori's aid." Ensuring the guards we'd rescued were relatively safe, we made our way to the hall, where the battle was already in full swing. Wow, I don't think I've ever failed that many skill checks during the prologue, but I guess that's just how the dice fall sometimes. At least it keeps things interesting.
As it should be.
Now, I was hoping to finish the prologue today, but having the entire party fatigued really complicates things. It doesn't make things impossible, but it does mean I'll have to go through our inventory and swap out a lot of our equipment. Otherwise, we'll end up going into the final battle over encumbered. That said, let's go ahead and pause things here for now, so I can take care of all that off-screen. Then we'll pick up here next time as we head into the banquet hall and hopefully save Lady Aldori. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder Kingmaker, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube channel, the official Discord channel, or the original crowdfunding campaign over on Kickstarter. As always, links are in the description.